That's all you said to me all day.
That's because that's all you've done all day, everywhere we go. Yak, 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 yak. Okay. Yeah, not much work. Hello, everybody. Are we going?
Yes.
Okay. Hi, everybody.
Hi.
Welcome to our first open mic night for the year, which happens to be number 71. So this is our 8th year of running open mic nights. Woo. 8 years, yes. Makes me feel old. So, for those of you who haven't been to open mic night before and have put their name down, just because you put your name down in a particular spot doesn't necessarily mean I go in that order. So if you thought you were going to be first or last or whatever, it doesn't always mean that, because I kind of, I don't know, gauge what's happening and see what we need. Sometimes if something's been serious, we need something funny, that kind of thing. We don't have any music tonight. I just realised that. Where's Betty? And Dom. Yeah. Where's Jimmy? Go ring them up and tell them where I am. Ask them. Anyway, so each reader has 4 minutes. Okay, at 3.5 minutes, Les will ding the bell. And then at 4 minutes, he will double ding. And that means you need to wrap it up. Okay? Sometimes people are reading and they go, oh, I've only got a page. But a page takes more than a minute to read, so just bear that in mind. I don't like to time it, but if we don't, then we literally would be here till midnight. So, at round about 8 o'clock, we're going to be announcing the winner of the Pitch to Publish competition. The winner of this competition wins a writing and publishing package worth $12,000. So, I have my little list here, and Kev will do a little live. Now, just for anyone who is coming up here, Kev is actually recording all of the readings, and they will go up on YouTube unless you tell him you don't want it to be, if you don't want it to be. Okay? So, we might start with Jim. Jim, we haven't seen Jim for quite a few months. So, he's going to read the docs. Socio-history humour. He's got his red braces. Look out.
And I've got a flat cap on and belts and braces just to affirm that I am a northerner. This is a bit of a socio-history, from around the Liverpool docks, of like the 1960s. And it's just simply called the docks. We are dead good people. We never done that wrong. The wrong uns nicked stuff off the docks. We bought our stuff the right way from dear old Mr. Knox. Off he scuttles to the next place where his retail work is done, to a respectable place of purchase, that pub down by the docks, where Dad bought all our things. Shanghaied into all sorts, like cashmere crafted socks, enticed exotic offerings from the vendors round the docks. Shell of turtle hair combs complement our sisters' locks, us younger human facts of life all catered down the docks. Another whack called Diesel went jack on all his mates. Give Dees to Dad and Dees our kid and Diesel do for man. Off scuttles Mr. Knox to the padre of the docks. Sunday is the only day the padre plies his trade for the sacred Sunday rates. Paddy Kelly off at Mass. No Irish bobbies on the gate increases local trade. New wheelbarrows, Empire made, removed with packing straw. Heading just outside the gate, a place just down the road. Someone's home allotment via that pub down by the docks. The echo hits the pavement with a damp and muffled thud. The cries of echo paper boys reverberate down the street. Amid the smoky winter dusk, the clicking feet of workers on the way to home and pub pick up the evening paper from the corner selling lads. Hey up our kid, me number's up, rich pickings from Jamaica. The banana boat is in. Danger money, lads. Tarantulas and banana skins lie lurking round the hold. The coin is splashing everywhere, and the girls are dead alluring as they apply their nightly trade, assisted by some herb perfume from dear old Mr. Knox. Imported letters sent from France prevent the dreaded pox. Christmas is coming, and there's cake upon the plate. The ships keep coming in. A drop of old Jamaica drum is leaking from the docks into the eager waiting hands of dear old Mr. Knox. Thank you. This one's a bit more vitriolic. When you hear about bankers talking about consumer sentiment and all that sort of stuff, you know the belief goes out the window. And it's called the National Grid. Not saying he has a big mouth, folk here call the National Grid. Spouting like a sewer or a broken septic tank. He is the local poo bar when it comes to spouting shite. Opinions ooze like toxic sludge, no healthy discourse here. No need to network, watch the news, the grid will suck you in. Continuous feeds and outbursts will keep you well informed. Overall market sentiment lies festering on the beach, left high and dry and vulnerable by the fast retreating trade. Awaiting a resurgence from the grid within the pub, consumer hearts aflutter. The grid spews forth its filth, it liquefies the sentiment flowing slowly down the drain. Thank you very much.
He's going to read a poem. I'll let her tell you what it's called.
Cool. I'm going to do 2 poems if we've got the time. This first one's called An Ode to the Women I Know, after Melissa Lozada Oliva. The women I know are bitches. Soft and hard and take shit from nobody. Text me when you get home safe. Bitch, don't even have my jumper. Did you eat today? Let me buy you food, okay? The women in my family are warm and round. I have the same hands as my mother, but I don't know how to write like she does, how to fix like she does, how to sing like she does. I watch and copy, and one day these recipes will be mine or they're making done for me. The women I know are camellias. The flowers grow outside my childhood bedroom, and they are here when I leave, when I come home. In this place I first learned I wasn't a woman, but women have made me, loved me, pushed me. The women I know are gods, and their power knows no bounds. The women I love are marigolds. I pick the stem, place it behind my ear, and it makes me feel beautiful all day. She tells me, and her voice is a viola, perfectly tuned and warm. The women I know are a hint of blue sky behind the grey. Cliché, but no less beautiful. Cookie cutter makeup and the same black dress don't make her a puppet, because when she puts her face on, zips up her boots, wears the bra with the lace, she is putting on her armour, strapping knives to her calves, wearing the bra with the lace, and nobody can see it, but she'll know it's there, smile to herself, and her gleaming teeth grow the fire in her chest. She consumes us all. Thank you. This poem is pretty short. It's brand new and kind of stupid and emo, but we're going to do it anyway. I keep hearing that the world is ending, but I'm not really sure I care. The last time I ran out of tea bags, though, I started crying, so maybe I'm just depressed. But it's probably fine, says Scotty, sipping a Bloody Mary and refusing to look at the sky, which is a bad metaphor. But this whole thing is a bad metaphor. You know, the universe is a slut for self-awareness. I live an entire state away, but the grey haze has us all choking on life. Like Mother Earth is Mercutio. The sky loves her so much. Her vision goes black as she stabs Tybalt in the chest, twists the knife, leaves him to bleed. No carbon emissions by 2050 feels like a love poem for the end of the world. The one we sing as she's already walking out the door again and again. However, we know the landscape of love and the churchyard there with too many names. We'll be dead by then, I say, and my mother scowls. Yesterday, my 5-year-old brother asked me what my t-shirt said. The one that says, "Fuck ScoMo." The one that I haven't worn outside yet. I promise I'll wear it one day when the fires don't stop, when the sky is yellow, red, black, when I close my eyes and step into the flames. If I were a little different, my sins would burn away. I would be saved, lonely but alive, but I'm too tired to believe in a God. Again and again we lie down among the ashes, face to face with the sky.
Thanks, Imogen. Michelle Endersby is going to read a poem called A Bunch of Roses. She's wearing roses, so you can see a little bit of a synergy there.
And I didn't write this. Andrew Barton, commonly known as Banjo Patterson, wrote this in 1894. It was after he'd written Clancy of the Overflow and The Man from Snowy River, and before he wrote Waltzing Matilda. And I think it shows a very different side to the man. Have your tissues ready. Roses ruddy and roses white, what are the joys that my heart discloses? Sitting alone in the fading light, memories come to me here tonight with the wonderful scent of the big red roses. Memories come as the daylight fades, down on the hearth where the firelight dozes, flicker and flutter the lights and the shades, and I see the face of a queen of maids whose memory comes with the scent of roses. Visions arise of a scent of mirth and a ballroom belle who superbly poses, a queenly woman of queenly worth, and I am the happiest man on earth with a single flower from a bunch of roses. Only her memory lives tonight. God in his wisdom her young life closes. Over her grave may the turf be light. Cover her coffin with roses white. She was always fond of the big white roses. Such are the visions that fade away. Man proposes and God disposes. Look in the glass and I see today only an old man, worn and grey, bending his head to a bunch of roses.
Thanks, Michelle. I was lucky enough to get some roses from Michelle's garden this morning in my office. Veronica. I'm going to get Veronica up here. If you have a look up in the corner here, we have lots of treasures that Veronica is going to tell us more about.
Hi. It might be a bit strange to have a whole bunch of random things on that table, and this is a, book reading event. But I do actually have a book which I published 3 years ago, and about 2 days before it went to the printers, they told me I had to change my name to pseudonym. So I ended up with a book with someone else's name on it. Well, I created a name. And it was so frustrating, and I haven't touched a book since, and I am getting it republished here. And of course I don't have a copy with me because I'm moving house and they're still in a box, and the one copy I know where it is next to Blaze's bed. So there's no book, but the book basically is my life story until moving to Melbourne 8 years ago. So it starts when I was born in Sweden, grew up in Israel, and then moved to Australia, and 2 years in Cambodia. And that's the connection with this table over here, because I have a social enterprise in Cambodia where we teach marginalized women. They do knitting, sewing, crochet, and weaving. And it's been about 8 years since moving to Melbourne, where I've been doing this on this side of the equation, not in Cambodia, and just came to that sort of tipping point where I basically needed to have it grow into something bigger, or basically shut up shop, because it's just been too hard for me to sort of do on my own. So I've got a crowdfunding campaign, which I started when I was in Cambodia a few weeks ago. Tomorrow it's going to be so it's 11 days until it finishes. And I would love for you guys to have a look at the different things that the women have made. Everything's handmade. Everything is made in their homes. They're with their families. And I've printed these ugly little thingies, which you can take, and it has the website on there that you can have a look. And the biggest thing, even if you can't afford to buy, that's completely fine. But the biggest help you can do is to share the message with like-minded people, because at the they're magnetic. In case you're wondering why there's a monkey hanging off the sloth foot. Yeah, maybe I should ask the sloth. This is Rumi, named by my son. Rumi is all about taking life slowly. So if you know anyone who needs a reminder that life should be a bit slower. So everything is really well made. We don't want any kind of pity buys. It's all about that you love the product, and then the story is just the bonus. It directly has an impact on the women who make them. They get to choose how often they make things, how many they make each month. So it's a very flexible work environment. And the biggest part is that we have scholarship funds for the children, and that's where the long-term impact is going to be, with the children having an education, so they have more options than their parents. So I'll hang around afterwards if you want to chat to me, have a look at the goodies. They can't be bought tonight, but you can have a look. You're like the only people who have actually seen them in person. So have a look and tell your friends. Thanks, guys.
How are we going for time? You can do another one. Marcello.
Again, so I've been inspired by what it's gotten so far, and I'll be talking about Genostra, but I came here at the second open mic because I'd come to see an exhibition of painting by Lynn Van Eyck, which happens to be Blaze's mum, and just tell Joe who was speaking, I was sorry that part of the Australian history was lost when I sent him a message on Facebook. The mum and the partner lost part of a building which is historical to me, and I think also to them. And also I'm very proud that she's wearing the City of Banyul bird. You're wearing a City of Banyul, yes. Yes? And I do love roses. My wife looks after them. We've got about 40 trees of roses. But recently we had a visit from Mayor from one of the islands where I come from. A group of 6 islands have got one council. There's about 16,000 people with one council, 6 islands. The island where I was born, just under 3,000 people, 3 different municipalities. So you've got 20 odd councillors for about 800 people. Good job. But talking about the fires, that as you know, last year there was a big explosion at the Strombley in Genostra. That there was a lot of fires, a lot of precious trees were lost of the fire. We're talking about olive trees up to 1,000 years old. They call the Saracens trees because the Saracens planted them in the early 1100s. And the Aeolian Island, I must say, they are World Heritage listed. Simple as that. Some of the island, including when I was born, it's much stricter. You cannot build, you cannot do anything. Just as simple as that. It's all natural. And thank goodness that happened many years ago. But Genostra, where I came from, has gone through a tumultuous time since the explosion of the volcano, because the pier that was small port got destroyed. They're trying to fix it, and as soon as the first northern wind came, all the iron got mangled up. So at the moment, they've gone back to my times, that they have to use a rowboat to get out of the little port to meet the ship, a few hundred yards away. And I said, we feel like refugees. So of course I wrote in the local newspapers that they should be privileged to be using that method of transport because it's clean. I don't think it went too well. But, and of course Stromboli and Genostra in particular, because of its peculiarity, is top of the list of the UNESCO World Heritage listing. We look, Calabria is across the road, I mean across the sea, but I can see Ginostra. So some people from Calabria nominated Ginostra's sunset as one of the world treasures. But the problem is the award going to the people from Calabria that can see the sunset, or to Ginostra that is responsible for it? Well, we still don't know the answer. There's definitely someone who will get the money. So at the moment it's in the hands of the mafia from Sicily and the drangheta from Calabria. So you're trying to get him dead.
Where's Richard? Richard Trember, who actually won our another pitching competition we had last year for his collection of short stories and poems, is going to read a poem tonight. Is this a new one? I didn't actually look when I printed it out. It's a new one. Ooh, a new one.
Thank you, Blaise. I haven't written very much recently, but this is one. It's called The Melting of the Snow. My time draws near, and I must go before the waning of the moon or melting of the snow, before all things that I hold dear are finally reduced to rubble, while I am clear of eye and ear, and able yet to hear the chorus of the birds at dawn and see the setting of the sun, while yet my stride, though robbed of bold fluency and strength of youth, does not betray me, while all my being, slowed by time, has not yet reached the line which marks the point of no return, where all my will is lost and dignity no longer marks the man, while memory can yet retain the bold days of my youth and the glories of the journey which brought me to this day which we all knew would come in time and now is but a few short steps away. The journey has been hard, but in its way rewarding. Of course I have regrets, but sweet recall of days of joy and laughter, gone too soon, but well remembered both by me and those I loved along the way. There will be but few who mourn me, for most of those whom I held dear have gone before. But happily I will cross the thoughts of those remaining briefly from time to time, and I can only hope they will recall a man upstanding in his prime, before the ravages of time brought him unto life's final threshold, to which I now draw near. Liz, have I got time to do another one?
You have 2 minutes.
I'll do a short one. This has probably been done before, but anyway. It's called The Final Page. Write to me one day and tell me of the second half. Though we have gone our separate ways to live our separate lives, I know enough of yours to feel that I've read half the book. And though it is no longer mine to read, I think of you occasionally and wonder what the unread chapters hold. But even if I were to find the book and learn somehow where life has taken you, I know I'd never really know the whole of it, your hidden mystery. And I am well aware that there would be no point in skipping through the unseen chapters to find just how the story ends. For it will end as we both knew it would, still unresolved. The final page is missing.
Thanks, Richard. Steve Dagata. Stand-up comedy, raw comedy bit.
Yes.
How raw?
No, it's the bit I did for Raw Comedy competition.
Cool. Okay.
Again, I entered the Raw Comedy competition for the Comedy Festival this year. Had my head a couple of weeks ago. Didn't get through to the final, but I think I did a pretty good go, and you can be the judge of that today. I think age is against me. I think it's harder for a baby boomer to get through a raw comedy final than a millennial to buy a house. So anyway, here it is. Now, what I want to talk to you about today is a subject I'm sure is at the top of everyone's minds, and that is personalised number plates on cars. Now, some people would say that people with personalised plates are tossers or wankers. I won't say that. I won't say that because I am a car person. So I get it. As a car person, you know, I believe we love our cars and we like to personalise them in any way we can. Now, for example, my pride and joy at the moment is a 2002 BMW 330 convertible. I bought it second-hand a few years ago, and I know what you're thinking. Yeah, Steve's had a midlife crisis, he's gone and bought a convertible to look cool. Now, firstly, it's obvious that I'd look cooler than anything. Secondly, this is not a midlife crisis, but this is a midlife epiphany. I'm doing all the things I was too afraid to do in my youth, I'm doing now, and because I'm over 50, I don't give a stuff what people think. So, although I love my BMW, I don't have a personalised plate for it. I don't know why, I'm not sure what I'd go for. I mean, something like this might work, it's a fairly common plate on European cars. But it's probably, if I went to motor reg for this plate, it's probably already taken. But there is a market for number plates. So you can actually buy and trade the rights to a number plate. And a number plate like this, which is a reference to the make and model of my car, would probably fetch about $3,000 on the open market. Now, $3,000 is a lot of money, so I don't know if I'd go for that, you know, and spend $3,000 on something which basically says what the badges on the back of my car already says. So I've kind of invested in a plate. I want something really special, something like this. Now, this is a great number plate. I love this plate. Now, it's got a couple of messages there. It's got the obvious message, which you're all clever people, so I'm sure you get it right away. But it's got a secondary message. And the secondary message is, I'm a goat. And guess what? I am. I am a goat. I'm a Capricorn. So how cool is that? It's got a number plate that says my star sign, as well as the primary message, which of course you all know. Anyone? I'm greatest of all time. Thank you. So yes. So that's a really good, and this is on the market for only $1,700. so it's great value. Now, unfortunately though, not all number plates have an obvious meaning, and sometimes people can set out to have a number plate with one meaning and come out with something totally different. For example, a couple of years ago, I was driving through Eltham and I saw someone with a brand new ute, and a brand new ute that they were obviously very proud of, and they wanted a number plate to reflect their pride in their ute. So what they were going for was utes are us. It took me a while to work it out, but I think that's what they're going for, was utes are us. So not only were they one with their ute, they and their family were one with their ute. And so they went to motor reg and they got the first two letters, so it's all right, they got the UT out. Had to use number 3 for the E, which in number plate text is doable. R is a bonus because the letter R can replace the word R, so that was the bonus. They got the U and then got the number 5 for the S. So now this youth is driving around Melbourne, proudly displaying a number plate which effectively reads uterus. Now, as far as parts of the female reproductive system go, uterus is not a bad word. It's actually a very strong word. So it's actually the strongest muscle in the human anatomy. So go girls. But probably not what he was setting out for. So, thank you very much.
Pamela. I think Pamela's got something new because you had finished with your memoir. Yes. So Pamela's got a short story called The Last Light. Part 1. Cool.
I went back home to England to see my dad, and I wanted to know about the war. And this sort of short story is about that conversation with him. The last light. I looked into his eyes, glowing with happiness, as he hugged me tight. After the exhaustive journey from Australia to England, it was a relief to have arrived home safe. Buddy the dog, swishing his long black tail in a frenzy of excitement, leapt up to greet me. Dad grabbed my luggage and ushered me into the family home. The last visit had been one of sorrow, returning for the funeral of Mum, and I'd left with an aching heart, knowing he'd be alone. How had he coped? His letters indicated how much he missed her. Struggling to survive, he'd told me about an occasional visit or day trips with family. Yes, 2 years had been an eternity. Now we'd have a couple of months together to catch up on the news. I'd cook his meals, and we'd be able to enjoy each other's company. Walking through the house, I noticed the faded plastic flowers hanging in a basket in the hallway, dusty pictures, and the dull yellow ceiling of the kitchen, which used to be white. The lack of Mother's care and warmth was evident everywhere. However, the garden was a mass of colour, with a bed of red, white and orange roses rising up proud against the neat and tidy green lawn. It had always been my father's pride and joy. In his twilight years, grey hair showed flecks of an original brown. His cheeks had sagged through a lack of teeth, but the eyes portrayed a personal sorrow, although he hadn't lost his spontaneous sense of humour. They'd occasionally spring to life and spark with mischief, and was always interested in people and the local news. Throughout the years, he'd provided for a wife and kids, and was content to work at a local factory for a meagre, guaranteed wage. A constant need to give the kids a good education kept him dyeing cow skins for the shoe trade. Cracked, stained hands and fingers didn't matter. To hug him after so long was a joy in my heart, a special gift from who knows where. The house was clean, and we'd settled into the pleasant routine of shopping, visiting relatives in the daytime, or I was allowed time alone to go wherever it tickled my fancy, with strict instructions to be home in time to cook the evening meal. Wonderful. But as my departure became imminent, one thought nagged me. Memories of a distant childhood were everywhere. I was proud of him. During World War II, he'd been wounded in Normandy by an exploding bomb, leaving remnants of unmovable shrapnel in his arm. It was never mentioned until our teenage years. Now was the chance to learn the truth about the war from someone who defended our country. One afternoon, as he was pottering around the garden, I asked him, "Dad, can I talk to you?" "Put the kettle on." Sitting at the small dining table, sipping piping hot tea and munching chocolate biscuits, he stared into my eyes, wondering what was so important. "Dad," I commenced, "I want to know what happened to you during the war and how you were wounded." His face relaxed as he inquired, "Are you sure you want to know?" "Yes. I remember the gas marks Robin and I found in a small cupboard when we were infants. Pretending to be monsters, we giggled so loudly you caught us. We wondered what they were, but you confiscated them. Ah, the joys of infant curiosity. You were toddlers and couldn't understand," he replied, smiling at the memory. "They were issued to every household in England. The government feared the Germans might drop deadly chemicals from their aircraft and kill us all. It didn't happen, but we were scared." "What about the big sack you kept in your bedroom?" "We know..." Okay.
You're allowed to finish your sentence.
Maybe the sentence is too long.
Les is not that mean. He wouldn't come and jump on you. Marion Piers. There's two Marions. That's why. So Marion Piers is going to read a poem, On the Way to Yay.
So most of my poetry is written about things that I'm obliged to do, and I seem to compose a lot in the car. Okay. On the Yarra Flats, Fertile vines line up in regimented rows, and black Angus cattle dot the squared fields. Beyond the checkered plain glower the dark mountains, with their skirts of mist hanging in the valley. Momentarily ignited by a shaft of light, the mists twirl and lift and settle again. Towering trees crowd the winding road that struggles up the mountain pass, eager to escape to the straw-coloured plains beyond. In the deep shade of the gullies, tree ferns huddle, spirits from another age, another realm, whispering of long-forgotten ancient times, of another people. Out onto the inland plains the road weaves, winding seductively around voluptuous hills, thrusting their productivity proudly skywards, curving sensuously. Relentlessly now the road thrusts straight through the dry grassy paddocks. Sheep tracks wind through the straw-coloured grass, and the grazing cattle raise their heads in satiated satisfaction. Grinding on to grey walls, the road now runs, baked hard and unforgiving in the relentless summer sun. Small grey people with dull grey lives, bored, tired, unenlightened, shuttered, grind out a grey recipe of grey ideas to a stolid cohort of rebellious souls, seething with barely concealed contempt, suppressing their savagery. Have I got time for one more? Yeah. Okay. So this one's called The Sadness of Buses. I don't travel by public transport much, and I was forced to on one occasion, and this is what I wrote afterwards. The sadness of buses lies in the acid smell of stale sweat and ingrained dirt and poor ventilation, of sad bodies poured into cheap ill-fitting clothes of poor design, tired lank hair slicked back or bodied up with cheap conditioner, or pulled into man buns stretching the scalp until the skin screams, or curling in ungoverned confusion to meet the tangled beard beneath. The sadness of buses lies in the stress sweat of bodies pushed too close to strangers in a confined space, of crotches pushed too close to faces, of vile stretched armpits hanging limply from leather straps. Passengers protect themselves in passive hostility, earphones in, screens illuminated, fingers flicking, eyes averted, enclosing themselves in invisible bubbles of wary aggression, repelling neighbours with a face that expresses nothing, challenging those who dare to bridge the gap with eye contact or a smile. The sadness of buses lies in our inability to cross the gap, to make contact with strangers. Okay, this is the Ridge Road, which I walk with my husband every day. Today, as I strode the Ridge Road, the still cold air stung my cheeks and seeped through the protective layer of knitted wool. Away to my right, the Dandenongs slid into a cloudy embrace. Left, a barely discernible Macedon was lost in watery haze. Layer upon layer of cloud, subtle shades of grey, scudded across the huge expanse of sky to the distant shape of Mount Disappointment. And the rest is lost and will be revived sometime.
Joan Shilton is going to read. I need to wear my glasses up here. The Fiery Dragon. It's not your writing, it's my eyes. I will.
Thank you. When I was first married, my husband and I, he was a clergyman, took up the parish in East Gippsland, which is almost no more. Can River, Malakuta, Genoa and all around that area. So the news of all the happenings around there has really been heavy on my heart. And I've called this the fiery dragon. No warring troops or naval force took leave to wreak destructive course upon our sweeping wooded land. A one-time trusted friend appeared as foe. Midst forest dry and seared by ruthless drought, it took command. Then willing foes worked hand in hand. Thus dragon-like with fearful powers, this raging furnace consumed towers of forests, furnace, habitats and lives, with cruel intent that none survives. Demolished grasslands, farms and stock, left broken homes and hearts to yearn helpless, to watch as life's dreams burn. Vicious, all-embracing trend, day in, day out, with no clear end, till strong resilience breaks through. We'll build again, that's what we'll do. This brave and self-effacing stand inspired folk across the land, from far and wide across the sea, with warmth and love. Folk gave, folk came so willingly. The question is, what can we do? Intentions may be deep and true. Just thank the voices breaking through, the ancient ones. They love the land, its character they understand. Sophistication, step aside. To simple truths resign your pride, and join as one. You will rejoice in seeking your Creator's voice. Now can I sneak another one in?
Give it a minute.
I think probably some of you would have experienced this as I did not so long ago. I've called it Sound and Light. A shattering crash enveloped space. Violence from out the sky, out the dry but humid sky, consumed my place. As if two monstrous giants took the stage, in heated rage, with flaming swords, so close, unseen, unheralded, as storm gave birth. Then gushing torrents, giant tears, cascaded down on parched and gasping earth and dry, hard ground. The sound of muffled warfare, persistent tears, until plants revived, air was purged, windows sparkled clean. We breathed again, and silence ran.
We go up to the bush, we go through Genoa, and Kev would say, Genoa,
Did you know?
every time, there and back.
How about Jerry Gong?
Jerry Gong, don't know Jerry Gong.
It's further down.
Oh. So for anyone who doesn't know, who's read my book about growing up on the commune? So during the fires, because that's just inland from Cabargo, which was burnt out, and so the 500 acres, it has 12 shareholders. Of the 13 houses that were there, 2 have remained. So the house that my mum and us 4 kids built from the stones from the bush, totally gone. So we haven't seen it yet, except in pictures. So actually my book is sold out. I've ordered some more, but this is the thing about writing and publishing your book. You are preserving history, even if it's just for yourself and your family, because the very... I'm always crying up here. The very last paragraph in that book is something that is really special to me, because I got to experience that place, and it's never to be returned. Even if we rebuild, what was there is no longer. So, you know, things change, and so you have to go with the flow, don't you, in life? But what I would say is, never think that what you are writing is not important, because you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay? So thank you for your poem. It kind of really struck me. Gay. I don't know what Gay's doing tonight, because she's got like a little stick figure.
Who's standing up?
Who's standing up?
I don't know if I can stand up.
Oh, okay. I get it.
It's supposed to be a stand-up comedy, but I can't get out of a chair.
So, does that make it sit-down comedy?
I don't know what sort of comedy it's going to be in a minute.
Slapstick?
I think we brought everything. There's a gong. But I better hurry. He has probably started the clock already. Hello, everybody, you beautiful people. I thought, about a year ago, I thought I should do something about my beauty, try and improve things a little bit. And I thought I might find some secrets in some of the people that were on television or in the magazines, etc., and I might get some ideas from them. So I started to have a look at them, and I was quite surprised to see every few years we change the look of what we think is beautiful. I mean, when I was young, it was beautiful to have thick mascara on your eyes and big black eyes, like there was a hole in your head, which I probably had a hole in my head anyway. My father used to say so. And anyway, so this was the look at the time, and I found out that the look at the time was this sort of pale, sort of sickly-looking, thin people with the women with long, sort of straight hair. And here's the thing, the hair, when they ran, which they did a lot of, I'll tell you in a moment, but when they ran, this hair was silky and it flowed backwards as though it had its own inbuilt hairdryer. It sort of moved. Now, may give you a demonstration if you're lucky. My hair doesn't move, does yours? My hair, I've tried very hard, but it does not flow. Now, these women that you see in the ads and things like that used to be seen in their ads, etc., flowing across, say, the beach, like this. and over, I don't know who was over their shoulder, but they must have been terribly funny. And they did the same in the countryside. They'd be running through grasses, through long grasses, or leaping through grasses, you know, and they were always so dainty and so beautiful with it. I would fall flat on my face after the first jump. But I decided, well, the look was this particularly long hair, very thin bodies, and lots of clothes that floated everywhere. Maybe they bought the wrong size in the first place, so they bought another one to make up for it, I'm not sure. But anyway, so I decided, well, that might be helpful to me to try and get my hair a bit longer, which I did, and I've grown it. It's beautiful, isn't it, really? But I'll show you, it doesn't move. I've lost my comb, but I'll show you. Just excuse me one moment. Now, does it move when I run? Does it move? No. See, I proved my point. I look beautiful, but it doesn't move. So I don't know how they do it, but it's not fair, because I tried very hard to be beautiful in that sense, that I could walk beautifully and run through the grasses and the sea, but it didn't work for me. However, now I can see you're impressed by that. So Anyway, the next thing I'd like to talk to you about, see, we're not going to talk about that one any further, is a DIR day. I don't know whether I thought we should make a DIR day for teenage girls, because teenage girls are very difficult to deal with. Their parents are the problem, I think. But my daughter, we call it a DIR day because my daughter used to have this thing called her teeth hung out. When she was dealing with me, she'd go, a DIR, Mum, you're hopeless. DIR, Dad, you know. And so we had this particular day, which I'm not going to have time to tell you about, but it was very funny. The dog food exploded when I opened it, and she was sitting straight in front of me on her DIR day with her mouth open, DIR. And we were terribly frightened that she might get poisoned because she might have swallowed the dog food. Thank you.
Okay. Sorry, Marion, but you get to follow this. Marion number 2.
You'll hear mostly short poems with a twist at the end. Ice creams for the fostering family. One for your child, one between 3 of us. What does that foster? The danger is not the stranger. Tilly's growing up, you don't say. Buying her first bra, you don't say. Adored by her pa, you don't say. Sits her on his knee, makes sure he tucks her in. They've secrets, her and him. Shh, shh, you don't say. Fire and money. Good servants, bad masters. Find out by getting your fingers burnt. Tied up in knots. Not easy, not simple, not obvious. Knots can be untangled.
Thanks, Shell. Mary, are you ready to go?
Yeah.
Yes? Mary Leet is ad-libbing. Is that right?
Yeah, sort of.
Yeah. Come on up.
Blondie Blue put his arms around my friend's waist. She turned to kiss him. He drags her out of the lights into a dark corner. My legs wobbled. I head for the nearest chair. I had seen this coming. She had been making moves on Blondie, my ex-boyfriend. It felt like an affair, even though it had been broken up. Still, it's one thing to expect it, and quite another to see it. I've heard of stories of affairs, boyfriends running off with girlfriends, best friends, etc. I'll feel sad, judgmental, but experiencing it is very horrible. I couldn't tell anybody, not even my best friend, so I turned to art. One of the pieces I needed to make was asking people to write love letters, and then I'll mush it all into paper mache, make it into heart shape, or love letters that people have been cheated on. Make it into heart shapes, paint it red, put it under a glass-proof bomb thing, blow up a bomb, and there it is, I hang it up. And I'll describe it to my friends, possibly making it into an exhibition. There it is, visible, heart in a million pieces. There is no hospital to go to fix this kind of thing. I am on my own. And then a friend would confess, and another, deep, dark secrets. I wish we talked about it more. The rumour was that Blondie had moved out and moved back in years ago. So did he move back out again? Well, the rumour was we don't know. So I may have been seeing him while he was still married. So what's my demerit points in my karma now? 6 months later, he'd asked me to his mistress. He doesn't know that I know that that would be having an affair within an affair, and that is just not on. So where is his moral fibre? Does he know about the consequences of just having fun versus a bomb blowing up a heart into a million pieces? He is extremely protective of his 15-year-old daughter. How would he feel if his daughter was dating a married man? He'll be furious. How would he feel if she was dating a married man and doesn't know that he was married? He would kill him. There is something that I read somewhere in Christian Bible somewhere, that there is something about sins running down generations, down a track. What, 6, 3? I don't know. Have a look at it. So does that mean that the guys that his daughter will be seeing is the guy that he is to other women? So I go back to Malaysia for my grandmother's funeral, and there is my auntie who tells me about a story of my paternal grandfather. So I went back for my maternal grandmother's funeral, not my paternal, who tells me that he has affairs. So if I'm seeking justice for Blondie, is it right there? Justice. There it is right there. I copped it. Bad. Twice. Thanks a lot, Grandad.
Okay, thank you, Mary. That's it for the reading, did I forget anybody?
Alison wants to read.
Yes, Alison, you didn't put your name on the list.
No, I
Are you going to read?
Sure.
Yes, come on, come on. You got your laptop? Good girl.
So this is actually a novel that I've been working on. I'm not going to read the entire novel, obviously. And it's just I finished it, but it's in the drafting stages at the moment. So I've been drafting it a little bit at the moment, and it's a fantasy. And this part that I've redrafted is a character that eventually turns, I guess, evil, kind of. And I always hated when I was watching something and it was just an evil character. I'm just like, okay, tell me why. Why did he turn evil? So this is a bit of this character and what sort of a reason why he has that choice. What does he do? Does he go evil? Does he go down the good path? And this is sort of, I guess, that. Slowly, the king of Forest End made his way to the forest floor as he slid jadily against the trunk to hold his wife in his arms. It wasn't until he was leaning his chin into her neck that he could just make out the shallowness of her breathing. Ryan had moved away, and as he eyed the blood drenched at the bottom of her dress, Cassius shakily removed as much armour from her as he could, starting with the breastplate. Piece by piece, he took it off until only her royal fighting attire remained, and he snuggled in beside her, wishing there was something he could at least remember in spells or enchantments, in order to remove the poison from her veins, knowing all the while that even if he had the ability of a healer, there was no hope for her now. He closed his eyes and listened carefully to the rain hitting the canopy leaves and branches, dripping down upon their faces. Cassius, he heard her sweet, husky, North Wenderland accent say, I have something exciting to inform you about, but you must sit down and stop worrying about the finances for a minute. He'd sat on their bed, and she'd allowed her arms to climb his, and she sat, legs spread against him as she purposely made her seductive mood to kiss him. I'm your child again, she had whispered in his ear. Grabbing her hips and lifting her in a gentle twist so that eventually her back was on the bed, Cassius had kissed her again and idly brushed his hand up her leg. Let's hope it's a girl then, for she will be as beautiful as her mother. It'll also do good for Royan to have a younger sister to look after. He'd been careful with her that night, and finances had been the least of his worries, as everything had seemed so peaceful, and they'd kissed for most of the night. The best thing about it was nobody had disturbed them, and it was in that moment that Cassius had fallen deeper in love with her, and before he'd slept for the night, he'd watched her as she fell into unconsciousness in his arms. Haro had smelt of forest flowers then, her perfume intoxicating his nostrils as it had the day they had gotten married. It wasn't until Ryan was gently awakening him that Cassius realized he'd fallen asleep. She was crouched in front of him, and as his eyes adjusted to the light of the flame, so valiantly carried in the lantern, he first rested properly upon the wallowing stare that Torva's eyes had held even in his sickness. He dared not yet look at Haro, as unlike before, he heard not even the slightest rasp of breath. "Cassius, I'm sorry," Ryan said sadly. Her hand rested upon his arm. "She's gone." Reluctantly, Cassius turned his head to see lifeless eyes staring up into the canopy. Haro's body was cold and still, and unlike how beautifully her skin had felt that night he'd kissed her for hours, it was dry and covered in the dreadful virus that had killed her. Something, a breeze alike to the one he'd noticed earlier, swung through the forest and touched his face. The fresh smell of forest flower hung in the air, and he clung to its odour until it completely vanished, and there was no wind, but the continued downpour. Cassius tightened his grip around her torso and wept exceedingly for her, his son, and for the daughter he would never have the chance to meet.
Thanks, Alison. So Alison was developing her novel in Bali with me last year. So if anyone wants to go to Bali this year, it will be in September. So that's... Did anyone else want to read?
Adele wanted to sing.
How about we get Les to sing?
Oh, yes.
Great being here.
Now, on Sunday, I launched my book about the Camino, which is here. It is for sale tonight for $20 if anyone wants a copy, but it actually is going to be our door prize tonight if Kev could get me the tickets. I've got a little display up there of some of the things from my Camino walk if anyone is interested. And if you want to get your raffle ticket, your door ticket out, we'll see who won. Where's Richard sitting?
No.
Richard usually either wins or someone sitting next to him wins.
I should read it.
Has everyone got a ticket? Yes. Before I draw this, have I forgotten to tell anything tonight? Nope. Okay. Orange. F66.
My gosh, I've got 65.
Who got it? Did someone get 66?
One after me.
Oh, yeah.
Who got it?
He was after me. He had me through.
There you go. So thank you so much for coming to our first open mic night for the year. So don't forget the Kickstarter for Happily Made Treasures over there. So hang around and have a chat with Veronica. Have a look at the stuff. It's pretty hard to choose which is the best piece, actually. Shopping bags are really good, really useful as well. All handmade, lots of pockets inside, which I really like. Les is going to be screening his mockumentary here, not this Saturday, but the Saturday after, the 29th, at 7 p.m, Les?
I'll be about 7:30.
But are we opening doors at 7?
Yeah.
Yeah? So if you're interested to see the little mockumentary that Les has made with his little Lamato films, would be great to come. Thank you all. Hang around, have some cake. The cake out up the back there I made this morning. It is actually called Pilgrim Cake. It is basically almond meal. So if you're gluten intolerant, you can have it. Thanks.